You know, for a little over a decade now, I've been giving a presentation about the transition to the next world monetary system, and my presentation was called The Death of the Global Dollar Standard. In it, I claimed that there would be an emergency meeting, a summit, where the G20 finance ministers or something like that would come up, they would hash out a new world monetary system. You know what? I was wrong. It's going to be a conference call. It's unbelievable what's happening in the world today. World's biggest banks meet as pressure mounts to do more. So they're all having these conference calls constantly. Now, the next transition, this is going to be chaotic because the U.S. is not going to want to give up its dominance. It gives us tremendous power over China and Russia. And, lately we have been using, for the last several administrations, we've been weaponizing the dollar, using it as a weapon. And there's governments around the world that are getting tired of this. But in my book, I wrote that, mark my words, there will soon be an emergency meeting of the G20 finance ministers or something like that to hash out a new world monetary system. It will just be history repeating, but just like before, it will be repeating with a twist, only this time the twists will be huge. And this is something that everybody needs to get prepared for, and the more prepared you are, the better you will do out of this situation. These things create, in the last transitions in monetary system, from the classical gold standard to the gold exchange standard, and then from the gold exchange standard to the Bretton Woods system, and then from the Bretton Woods system to the global dollar standard, it wasn't the common man that felt this happening. It was basically the world's central banks that were in crisis and where exchange rates were changing and they were wondering what to do. It was international trade that got slightly disrupted. But the common man really didn't even know that it happened. Now, this time, it's going to be huge. This time it will affect everybody on the planet. And this time it's going to cause a wealth transfer like never before. And it's really, as an individual trying to protect yourself and your family, it's your job to try and figure out how to prevent wealth from being transferred from you and how to get it transferred toward you. Moving on to the Gold Silver News page, right on the top article here this morning was Unemployment Tsunami to Wash Over Australian Property Market. I want to thank anybody that watched my video on the bursting of the Australian real estate bubble that came out over the weekend. The video is doing okay, and we need these longer format, more educational videos that take a lot longer to produce. Those things need to do well in order for me to be able to continue doing them. And it's doing just enough to where it's worth it, and so there's going to be more. On the radar, Zero Hedge article, we are moving into the end game. 27 tankers anchored off of California, hundreds off of Singapore as oil industry shuts down. Why? Because of this chart. This is an amazing chart. And it shows a collapse, this is oil consumption, and it's in thousands of barrels per day. So it went from an average of about 21 million barrels per day, just earlier this year, end of last year, 21 million barrels per day, down to below 14. That's a collapse that's a little bit greater than a third. That's like 35%. But more importantly, oil consumption is a predictor of economic activity. All of our economic activity, everything we do, consumes energy. And so when energy consumption drops by 35%, you can expect a contraction of GDP. So this is something for us to watch over the next several months here. Does this recover, and how quickly does it recover? Because if this stays low, we are in for a bad time. Anyway, I want to welcome the 4,259 new subscribers. That's a great number, and I think that a lot of this might have to do with the Australian real estate bubble video. I thank you very much for subscribing. If you are a recent subscriber and you just joined us, please go back and hit that notification bell And we always appreciate a thumbs up on our video. It really does help us in the YouTube algorithms getting recommended. The chart of the day. This is the gold-silver ratio, and whenever it reverses, silver outruns gold. And whenever this is falling, silver is outperforming gold. It takes fewer and fewer ounces of silver to equal the value of an ounce of gold when silver is rising faster than gold. So this ratio falls. Whenever it's climbing, gold is outperforming silver, and it requires more and more ounces of silver to equal the value of an ounce of gold. So back in the 90s here, gold fell 21%, silver rose 42% when that reversed. When this bull market started back in the 2000s, when silver, it started back here, but silver, actually, this was the real low in gold happened in late 1999, and gold outperformed silver, and then in 2001, gold made its double bottom, $3 higher than this bottom. And then gold was outperforming silver because silver was just moving sideways. But then when silver started to perform, it performed with a vengeance. Gold went up 169% during this period, but silver 330%. Then you had the crisis of '08, and gold outperformed silver. But then once the crisis was over with and things started recovering, silver outperformed gold by, gold rose 77%, silver 350% during this time period. Now, this ratio can also help you from buying precious metals. See, I've been buying since October of 2002 for gold and April of 2003 for silver. And so, but following this ratio keeps you buying one or the other, keeps you from buying one or the other when they're overvalued. And so, like for instance, I usually buy a mixture of gold and silver when it's 55 to 70, and then I buy only silver when it's over 70, and I bought only gold when this was under 45. I didn't buy any silver, and it prevented me from buying silver that was up at $40, $45, really what was expensive silver for the time. Now, we are up at 113 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold, and there is no time in human history that this has ever happened. Silver has never been, all of history, since the beginning of man, silver has never been this undervalued compared to gold. And this will revert one day. The big reversion is going to come when there's monetary demand. Because people will say, oh, well, silver's an industrial metal mostly, and so it's as industrial production slows down, we won't need as much silver, so demand will fall. But silver isn't just an industrial metal; it's an industrial metal and it's money. The industrial metal portion means that we use up most of the production. It also means that the vast majority of silver supply comes as a byproduct from mining copper, lead, and zinc. And so as those go away, the supply goes away just when monetary demand picks up. And that monetary demand is going to pick up when gold passes $2,500 or maybe $5,000 an ounce, and people look at silver and they go, wow, this is undervalued. That's when silver really explodes and catches up. Moving on, some viewer feedback on bail-ins and bailouts. One of the questions from Ethan Washington, quick question if someone doesn't mind answering. Let's say that things go crazy and there's hyperinflation in the U.S. and 1 ounce of gold becomes, that's supposed to be worth $250,000. How will that help people who hold gold? If I take my ounce of gold and sell it for $250,000, those dollars won't be worth what they are now. You might be able to buy a good TV with them, but not a house. Then, when there's a reset, they will just cancel those notes and knock zeros off. So exactly how does super high-priced gold help people who hold it in regards to the U.S. dollar price? Okay, your basic problem here is these last words, in regards to the U.S. dollar price. Oscar Wilde once said, today people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And I have said, and I said it in my book, price means nothing. Value is everything. We all are chained to this, to measuring things with dollars. And that creates a fog so that we don't see what's going on. If you stop measuring things with dollars and start measuring the purchasing power of things, the value of things, instead of the price of things, then that fog is lifted. The most educational video that I have created in the last several years, and we just came out with it 2 weeks ago, What is a Wealth Cycle? Go and watch that, and it is about this. Basically, this question, I went down this road toward monetary history, economics, the precious metals sector. It was about 6,500 days ago. And I have answered this question probably 500 times. And I've made some very, very detailed explanations of it. And if you go and watch What is a Wealth Cycle? And another one you can watch is I did a countdown of the top 10 reasons I buy gold and silver, and reason number 3 is the myth of a Roman of a man's suit. It's been said by many people that an ounce of gold would buy a fine suit of clothes for a man: shoes, belt, suit of clothes, from ancient Roman times to today. But it can't. It bounces in a purchasing power range. It's your job to figure out what is undervalued and what is overvalued, sell the overvalued asset and buy the undervalued asset. In the last great precious metals market, bull market of the 70s, if you had sold a home at the beginning of that bull market and purchased gold with the proceeds of that home, in just 8.5 years, by January of 1980, you could have sold your gold and bought 10.7 homes. If you had bought silver at the beginning of that bull market and then sold it in January of 1980, sold your home, bought silver with the proceeds, take the same silver and sell it in January of 1980 and bought homes again, you would have been able to buy 17 homes just like the one you sold. That's 17 times true wealth. The value is up 17 times. It doesn't matter what the price is. If you had done the same thing with stocks, sold a share of the Dow back at the beginning of that bull market and bought gold, you would have been able to buy 28.1 shares of the Dow. If you had bought silver, you would have been able to buy 45.8 times. You're talking about 8.5 years, close to 50 times your wealth. These are immensely powerful tools. You need to understand them. Watch What is a Wealth Cycle. Watch reason number 3 of why I buy gold and silver. Moving on. The bursting of the Australian real estate bubble. This is from Mark Satoshi. Great name. Satoshi Nakamoto gave us such a great gift with blockchain technology. Hi, Mike. Gifts galore down here in Ozland. The govnuts are propping up the economy. I love that. The govnuts are propping up the economy in every way imaginable. Been stood down from your job? Can't pay your mortgage or your rent? No probs. Get in line and we'll give you free money. Oops. Sorry, Mike. I meant to say free currency. Thank you very much, Mark. That's excellent. I've been on this mission. It was since 2005. I've been trying to differentiate between money and currency, because calling currency money is showing tremendous disrespect for what money is, and giving currency a compliment it does not deserve. It deserves our disrespect, not our respect. And so this is a very difficult thing to do. After all these years, more than 15 years of trying to do this, I still make mistakes, and every once in a while I will refer to currency as money, spending money, and it's not. I find it hard to fathom that MMT has been so ingrained into society to believe that this charade will actually just keep rolling along. I don't have gold, therefore I am not a king. However, holding plenty of that shiny silver stuff makes me a gentleman, and I know its true value. Look forward to your video tonight. Cheers. Thank you so much, Mark. I really do think the silver, I'm sure all of this makes you sleep better at night with everything that's going on. And you can sort of see that there's another leg to this thing, that the markets, might be noodling higher now and then, but it's all because of this voodoo. And they can't create true wealth by printing currency. The true wealth is all the goods and services that we create for each other. The currency is nothing but a measurement tool and temporary storage device. Moving on, the quote of the day. We're finally here. Make sure you get my book. Just go to goldsilver.com. For all the new subscribers, my book was the best-selling book on precious metals for quite a while now. You can still buy it on Amazon. It is absolutely pertinent. Everything in here is something that will help you through this crisis today. And it's free. If you go to goldsilver.com/free book, you'll be able to download it and be reading it in just a few minutes. And please send it to everybody you can. Anybody that hasn't subscribed, subscribe to our channel. It really does help. If you put the federal government in charge of the Sahara Desert, in 5 years, there'd be a shortage of sand. Milton Friedman. I want to thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.